Hey, what's going on? It's your boy Michael Agbajan. Ready to get into this? Welcome to the SAYMICHAEL podcast. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me. This is episode 3 of the SAYMICHAEL podcast. And just to remind you, what this podcast is one man's attempt at business, family, and comedy. This is not your everyday listening piece of entertainment. This is something for you. Just for you. If you're listening right now, this is just for you. And what makes this a little bit different is that we're gonna get right into it. You know, I'm gonna tell you about the things that helped me become a better business person. I'm gonna break down the behind the scenes stories of what happens on an entrepreneur's journey, because it's hard. Yes, it is hard. Even today, you know, dealing with a certain situation. I'm trying to get marketing and all this type of stuff done. And I have to deal with situations at my son's school. So Idol and Kenzo, both my boys, they go to a school, right? Call it daycare, call it school, same thing, right? Oh, to us, because it's on that level. And yesterday evening, I got a call around 5 o'clock. They said, hey, so your son was in a little incident, he kind of, scuffed his eye a little bit, but he's okay. We checked his eyes. Everything looked okay. And, we just want to let you know in case, there's any issues or anything like that. I was like, okay, what happened? It's like, yeah, he was trying to get a dinosaur, and he ended up, hurting himself a little bit, but, everything seems to be okay. I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'll be there shortly anyways to pick him up. I'll just check him out then, So when I get there, he had this big scuff, I'm not a cut, like something hit him, like on his eye, like down his eye. It was puffy. I was like, man, what happened? As I'm trying to talk to him, like, what happened? They're trying to overtalk my son, right? They're saying, oh, dinosaurs. Yeah, not to play with dinosaurs, huh, Idol? So it's my oldest son this happened to. He's like, yeah, not to play with dinosaurs like that, to watch out for that. And he's like, yeah. And I'm not really paying attention, honestly, I'm just looking at this scar, and they're talking, and they're over talking him. And basically they gave me this incident report, cited to me. I signed it. And I told my wife, I was like, hey, something happened at school. Idol kind of hurt his eye, and she was like, okay, well, okay, why'd they call you? So I was like, I don't know. They just called me. And she's like, oh, they usually call me. I was like, you a little jealous in this house? And she was like, I am a little bit, but nah, we're not being serious. But, she's like, yeah, but they usually, even for the smallest thing, they used to call me. I don't know. Okay. So then I told her about, she's like, what happened? I was like, yeah, they said he was fighting for dinosaurs or something like that. And with another kid, and end up scuffing his eye on the carpet or something like that. And she's like, oh, okay. So then later on, she saw, when she saw Idol, she saw his face, and she's like, whoa, what happened? His eye swollen, big, huge gash, not gash, but big scuff down his eye. And, she said, well, Idol, what happened? And then he said, directly, he said the child's name, and he said, he kicked me in the face. And she's like, kicked you in the face? He's like, yeah, kicked me in the face. So then she tells me that this happened. I was like, well, they didn't say nothing like that. I didn't hear nothing like that. She's like, well, you need to go get the video. So I dropped them off this morning, and I went to the front. I said, hey, do y'all have a video of the incident that happened? And they're like, yeah, we do. I said, okay, can I have that video? She's like, yeah, well, let me. Now they're trying to get looking a little weird, a little frazzled, right? And then they go into it, and they said, oh, we can't get the codes. Like like they changed the password or whatever, so we have to wait a little bit later on. Did you want to come later or anything like that? I was like, well, if you just get it ready and I could come later, to see the video. So it's time. Time has passed. It's time to pick them up. I'll walk into the school and they already had the video ready, queued up. So I was like, okay, cool. So we get to the video, and at this moment I'm recording, from my phone to get this video, so I have it locked in. So they play the video, and we're all gathered around the school. The class, the teachers and the instructors and all that. The manager, even one of the owners was there. They play the video, and at one point, like, okay, I see my son and this other young child. They're like playing like wrestling or whatever, and then you see that the other child, the other kid, kicking, like throwing out kicks to my son. I was like, oh man. But the teacher who's there watching over all this is like either doesn't care, doesn't matter. She's like oblivious to this whole thing happening, but she sees it, right? So it's like literally right next to her. All this is happening. You see them wrestling. And mind you, if my sons were wrestling at home, like even now to that point where they're making loud noises and shoes are coming off, I'm like, hey, y'all need to stop. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't take much to say, hey, y'all separate. You know what I mean? But this was happening, and I'm looking at this in a video, and then every now and then my son's like, you see kicks happening, and they're like still playing. So then the other child looks at the teacher, trying to sneak a kick in, and then he looks back up, he stands up, and he kicks my son in the face. Oh, man. I saw that. I was like, whoa. And they're like, I know. I was like, wow, it seemed like he was trying to hurt my son. But, it's nothing I took personally, nor should anybody take that type of situation personally, because kids are kids. They do play. So it's not anything that was deliberate in that case. You're talking about 4-year-olds here. But it was really about the supervision, the teacher, because look, about 5 months ago, same thing happened, something similar, where he had this big gash on the inside of his arm, where it was like down to the white meat, where he cut himself. And I saw it, and I was like, what happened to his arm? And they were like, oh, the carpet. Again, this is the second time they're talking about the carpet is the reason that he's injuring himself. Well, show me what kind of carpet does this, What kind of carpet does this? Makes no sense. So it's the same woman who supervised that situation, said it was a carpet, is the same woman that was supervising this situation with the kick to the face. And now that we have the video, now we want to understand, why does the story seem so inconsistent? Why was it about dinosaurs when the situation had nothing to do with dinosaurs? Why were we told that it was about the carpet when it had nothing to do with the carpet? I'm literally on this video waiting for him to like fall down and like scuff his face on the carpet. I don't know what I was expecting to see. And then to see a kick to the face, I was like, I gasped. I was like, whoa, man, I can't believe that happened, But then even crazier, they said, we spoke to the mother about this yesterday. And I was like, okay, so when you told me that it was about dinosaurs and like he hit the carpet, what were you talking to the mother about? You know what I mean? Was it about, our son scuffing his face on the carpet? No. So obviously they knew the story. And then tomorrow, me and my wife will be there, and we will figure out what's going to happen. Because 2 times under this woman's supervision, someone needs to be fired. Now, I don't want anybody to lose their job, but if you're not doing your job, then you need to lose it. You need to lose it. But yeah, so we're dealing with that a little bit. Also, if you listen to the previous episode 2, I'm flossing. I'm still flossing day and night, but then I'm also eating 2 times more candy. So I'm kind of breaking even a little bit. I should get a little bit better at that. But in this podcast, in this episode, I want to tell you about how my first business, the Waterboys Car Wash, how that gave birth to my second business, which is Michael's Barber and Stylist Academy in Irving, Texas. This is a accredited barber school that has been open for 5 years. Will be 5 years this year. And you know, how that got started is pretty interesting, just because this is going to take you from, okay, what lessons did I learn from my first business and how did I apply it in the second one? How did we see what opportunity there was that's presented itself, and how do we take advantage of that? But you know, if you kind of want to bring it back, 2013, right? So again, I've been doing business already since 2007. 2013 comes around. My mother, who's been doing, you know, hair for 30 years, she comes to me with this idea. Mind you, my mom's a big tinker, so she already has a lot of things that she's already working with also. So she, you know, has a salon. You know, she has her own, you know, hair care line called Silk Concepts. You know, she's doing wigs, and, you know, she's creating all these products, just trying to like figure out new things, you know, within the business of hair care and things like that. But then she came to me in 2013, like, hey, I have an idea, but, you know, I may need your help. I said, what is it? And she said, I think about doing a barber school. I said, oh, to me, that's not even in my, you know, like world, as far as even knowing that's even an opportunity. Like saying I'm gonna start a barber school to me sounded like, hey, I want to start UT Austin, or I want to start, you know, I want to start a charter school. It's like, how do you do that? You know? So, you know, that was 2013 when she came with the idea. And then that next year, you know, we're preparing for this actual idea to come out. So we actually got a realtor to come and help us find spots to actually put this barber school. And guess what we embarked upon? Guess what? How we end up getting lucky. And this is what anybody else could do if they're looking for a space or something to outfit their idea in. But the realtor brought us to what used to be a cosmetology school. So the location that we got, this 5,300 square foot location, it was a vacant, empty space, but it used to be a cosmetology school. So they already had the classroom set up. They already had the break room set up. They already had, the bathroom plumbing, the offices already set up, tile, lighting. It was perfect. And, you know, all we had to do is kind of make a few changes here and there, but this is like $200,000-$300,000 worth of work already done, you know? So we, you know, saw that as a huge opportunity, locked in the deal, right? 5-year lease on this particular piece of property. And that was July of 2014 that we actually, you know, signed the lease and said, okay, this is our spot right now. Right. And this is in Irving, Texas. And, so we're working towards opening and getting all the chairs and all these things. And mind you, we're cash flowing this thing. This is not a situation where, you know, we're getting loans or anything like that, you know. And, you know, at the time when I first started my business, so in 2007, the one of the first things I started, 'cause I was on this whole Dave Ramsey, Millionaire Next Door, you know, like I was on this journey of, okay, I want to make sure all my finances are right. And the first thing I opened after starting my business was a Roth IRA. And I even told everyone I knew at this time, I was like, open a Roth IRA, Roth IRA, Roth IRA. And Roth IRA is a retirement account where it's meant like more for like independent or entrepreneurs, for them to have their own particular, almost like personal 401k. So I was putting $500 a month. Well, actually the limit was like 5,000 a year. So it's like $466 or something like that per month into this Roth IRA automatically. So that was already part of my expenses. That wasn't even something I said, okay, I'm going to save to the side. It was something I already put in to say, like, this is part of what it takes for me to live, you know? So that wasn't even money that I separated. It was just automatically taken out. And then by the time 2014 came and this idea, it's already grown, you know, to a certain amount, right? And mind you, Roth IRAs are your money's meant to stay there until you're older. because if you put, let's say $25,000 into it at like 22, 23, by the time you're like 40, 45, it's already at $1 million. But see, if you take the money out early, you get penalized like crazy. But in this case, it was an opportunity. I said, you know what, let's liquidate some of these funds. Luckily, I had that there. So what I'm really trying to say is that if it wasn't for that Roth IRA, there would be no school. Even though I got penalized, it was still worth it because, I had money that was untouched, that was literally ready to invest with, and I put it towards the barber school. But the real reason I really was like for the barber school is because, look, most of my business life, I had no office. Like when you're talking about the type of car wash I had at malls and like high rises and office buildings and mobiles and all that, like that it didn't require an office. So I really didn't have I had spaces there where I could office out of, but I didn't actually have my own personal office. So the idea of the barber school was mainly because I wanted an office. And when I got that office, your boy outfitted it. So I had my computer, desk, everything set up. But that was one of the main reasons that I was interested in this school, because I'm like, okay, now it's a physical place for me to meet people and me to like, do work and focus and all that. But see, now we got everything pretty much ready by November of 2014. We opened the door to our first student January 27th, 2015. And that was Jesus. And it was only him who enrolled. This wasn't on any type of schedule that we had where we had like massive amount of people coming in at one time. This was just him. He was already the first student. So then at that time, I made a kind of crazy sacrifice. I'm like, okay, maybe I should enroll. And I enrolled at the school that I'm invested in, and I cut off my day in half. So therefore I could go to the classes in the morning and, be on the floor and cut hair through the day, and I'll be done. And then after that, I could go take care of everything on the car wash side of it, because I had enough employees to handle everything and to watch over everything. And, I went through with the idea and I enrolled as a second student. So like the first day of class, I'm in there, me and Jesus, that's my boy. We're in there just learning. And I'm like, man, this is kind of great, because what better way to learn the curriculum and making sure everything kind of makes sense and everything works than me, myself, like going through this process, So went through the process of enrolling myself, went through the class, got, through, all the classroom work, tests, all that. And then you're talking about fast forward again, we're talking about January 27th. So you fast forward, my first son was born September of 2015. So around the time that I'm graduating, finally, like, about to get my license, take my test, my practical and my written, my son's about to be born. And see, now that is when it hit the fan, because life got hard, man. That's when I really didn't know. I really felt like I was in Twilight Zone when it comes to what my life was. Cause okay, right after I, I take the test and, go through the practical and all that, and I pass, I get my license. So, at this moment, my wife just has our first son, right? And it's really difficult because, she only got to stay home for like 6 to 8 weeks. It was something really short, like really short. And her mom was, there to help. And at this moment, I'm like moving out of what was my downtown location. Now we're together in her apartment until we could get, into our house. So we're in a super tight, cramped like spot, you're talking about like 850 square feet, so me, her mom, and our, newborn son. And, fast forward 6 weeks or however long it was, let's just say 7 weeks to average it, she goes back to work. Her mom ends up leaving, and it's just like, okay, who do we get a daycare? he's too young for that. You know, I don't want him being in daycare or anything like that until he's old enough to talk, till he could tell us what's going on. Because as you already know, you know, he needs to be able to vocalize what's going down. But, you know, so we're like, okay, my mother's more hands-on with the barber school. So it's like, okay, I didn't want to burden her in a way with like, hey, can you help watch? Because she has so much stuff. And then mind you, it's still a new school. We still have students coming in, and you know, so then my wife's going back to work. So I'm like, okay, let me try to take care of my son and do business at the same time. One of the worst decisions ever. Because man, that was a lesson learned, because it was so hard for me. I felt like I was going through postpartum. It was that hard. Like thoughts were getting dark, because like I'm watching my son, you know, and if you had a newborn, the first 6 months is the hardest with your children. First 6 months is so hard just because they can't do anything at all for themselves. Not anything, nothing. You know, you have to do every single thing completely hands-on, watch them. And, you know, during that time, it's just me and Idol, and I'm trying to like, you know, rock him, make sure that he's not crying, and answer business calls and have business calls. And then when he's crying in the background, customers like, oh, is that a baby in the background? Oh, okay. When we call you back. And I'm like, man, this is so unprofessional, man. And like business wasn't as smooth as I wanted it to be, with like trying to like, you know, like not burden everyone else and me just say, I can handle it. Cause I asked God to challenge me, you know, like challenge me, and trust me, he challenged me, almost broke me, you know, cause at some moment I was like, I got to ask for help, you know? And because I was like, man, it made you think a little bit. It's like, man, did I make the right decisions in my life? You ask yourself questions like that. Like, did I make the right decisions in my life? Like, did I go at things wrong? Because this is not, I'm not happy. This is hard, you know? And, you know, but that's what helped me realize and helped me learn that you have to separate. And I still do this to this day. Like if I ever have the boys, either both of them, one of them, either one, especially at, you know, the ages that they're at now, 4 and 3, I don't like divide my attention. I don't try to do business and try to watch them, you know, because you got to choose one. It can't be both. And, you know, from that moment, I'm like, okay, I got to choose one. And my mom started to help out. You know, she was watching them part-time at the school. So even at this time, she's doing hair and running the school. I got the car wash and helping to run the school. I mean, you're talking about like bootstraps, you know, straight hustle mode type situation, you know? And, yeah, it was such a blessing, but, that I did have even the help available. But yeah, you know, the cold part is that of this whole entire, you know, story behind the barber school is that, you know, it started with a regular idea. It wasn't anything that was too intimidating, at least for my mother, you know, and she knew to come to me and my brother and anybody else who could help out when it comes to getting this, you know, making this dream real. And it became real. And the way we came upon the name is that, you know, MBA, you know, come and get your MBA at the MBA, you know, Michael's Barber Academy. You know, sometimes you hear, you know, never call a business after you never name it, you know, after yourself. And honestly, it doesn't matter what you name your business. You know, you think the name matters. The name is about 5%. Honestly, you can name anything. It's really what you do with the business, what ideas and new things you're able to put forward, you know, how you're able to stand out. Cause, you could have named you could have named it anything. Green Tree Barber School, you know, Dark Knight Barber School. You could have named it anything. And it doesn't really matter because it's really about what you do with that particular idea, how you execute it. And yeah, it could help you. It could pull you up a little bit, but then, and it could also pull you down a little bit depending on what your name is. But at the end of the day, the idea and whether you're able to execute it is what really matters, you know? And, you know, my mother wasn't too you know, prideful to not, to ask for help. I was able to help her. And, this last year of 2019 in November, we got our accreditation, and the reason why, it's such a big deal, that we got our accreditation, is because, okay, a lot of people don't know this. At having a barber school, the first 2 years of having a barber school, you're not allowed, at least in Texas, you're not allowed to have any student loans or any grants. They don't even give you the option because they want to make sure that you have what they call administrative culpability. They want to make sure that you're able to run a school, and like if you get sick, that you're not closed, that you have someone always answering the phone, and that you're always able to run, and the school's always able to flow without you actually physically being there, or even having, like, they want to also make sure that you have enough money in the bank, right? So that right there kind of, it was ideal, because I even brought that back into my own business. I'm like, man, like, I need to make sure that I have the system set up to support for when I'm down, to where it's just not completely dependent off me. Like, the systems built for the schools, some of the systems I brought into, the car wash. But, it's funny because I think about the twilight zone I'm in sometimes, because, like, a car wash has nothing to do with a barber school, but then also me graduating from the barber school that I invested in, was also a little bit weird too, because when people say, oh, you got a license too? I was like, yeah. It's like, where'd you go? I was like, I went here. And they don't even understand that, I could go through the whole story again, but they're like, you went here? It's just really crazy about the sacrifices you make and the opportunities you see and how you kind of take care of those things. But, that is how the barber school started. We're still running it now. It's working great. Again, we've expanded because of our accreditation. We've expanded from 21 chairs, and currently the construction is almost completely done on adding another 20 chairs. So we have 41 chairs available. And with those chairs, you could revolve those with different students. So, we'll be able to have 75 to, 125 students with that amount of seating right now available. So if you know anybody, send them your boy's way. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Send them your boy's way. But on to other news, man. I want to let you know, don't let 5 stars fool you. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody. Hopefully it makes sense to somebody out there. I hope that you don't let 5 stars fool you. Don't let the 5 stars fool you. And what I mean by that is, I'm looking for a camera for this this podcast. So I'm like, okay, I want to find a good camera, something that works really great. And I go on Amazon. I'm like, I know I can find a good camera, and I'll put in 1080p HD camcorder. I found this one with like 9,000, 10,000 reviews, 4.5, almost 5 stars, right? And I'm going through all the videos, looking at them, I'm like, man, this camera looks too good to be true. Like $65 for this camera. And I'm looking at it, had all these good reviews, all these positive things. There's videos of people using it and unboxing it. I was like, it's too good. I was like, HD 1080p camera, $65. All right, let me go ahead and make that move. I was going to buy 2 because I want to have 2 angles, right? And I ended up buying 1. I'm like, let me try it out first before I even, commit to 2. And I bought the one that came in, and I put it on. Pure trash. I'm talking about the quality on this camera. It was equivalent to a flip phone. I'm talking about grainy. And the reason why I say don't let the 5-star fool you is because there's something called signaling. And you need to know what this is when it comes to dealing with people and dealing with business. Is because just because you see 5 stars doesn't mean that it works. That doesn't mean that it is 5 stars, because signaling is in essence, okay, signaling is what peacocks do, right? So when a peacock wants to for the peons, wants the peons to get its attention, it puts out its feathers, right? And those big, huge feathers, the peons see it, and, the females are like, oh my God, look at the feathers. And they go to that, peacock, and, they mate. And not just because you have the best feathers doesn't mean you're the best peacock per se, right? But some people just work on the feathers. They don't work on them on the real, right? That's what signaling is. It's people who look like they're rich or look like it's great, high quality, because they're doing all the things that signal to you that it's good. Mind you, 5 stars. And, I ordered it because it just had stellar reviews, but when I got it in, dog poop. Trash. And I got to return it. I haven't even found the chance to return it yet, but I just want to say, don't let the 5 stars fool you. When it comes to buying things, that's sometimes how you waste time and waste money, especially because my wife did the same thing. She bought this mask. She bought this mask that 5 stars, amazing mask, amazing reviews. And then she buys it online. She tried the mask out. She said, this mask is terrible, and when she goes on to go return it, and get her money back, the company doesn't even exist anymore. Low key getting scammed, So the fact is that when you're buying things for your business or you're buying things for yourself, buyer beware, because these 5-star reviews, you could just, I don't know if this is a situation where they're scamming people on purpose or it's just like get rich quick schemes or whatever, but most people are buying based on those, faulty and fake reviews, and it's a complete waste of time. So buyer beware on that one. Also, I want to let anybody know here that rules are meant to be broken. Rules are meant to be broken, especially your own, because I told myself today, today I was working on my marketing. I was, sales calls and things like that, because again, I have big goals for this year and I'm not going to achieve them if I don't put any action out. So I'm putting these actions out, and I told myself, this is what I told myself. I have enough employees to where I don't have to go in the field like that. I could just focus on the bigger picture items when it comes to my business. And I told myself, I'm no longer going in and doing cars, cleaning cars. I'm working on big picture, right? And a customer, one of our first members, right? So mind you, when I started my business with the subscription and the memberships, one of my favorite customers, we call her A, and she called. She's like, "Hey, Michael, it's like 2:45, day's almost over." She's like, "Hey, Michael, this is today. Do you have anybody available for today? Like, I know you're probably already fully booked." I was like, "Oh man," I looked at the schedule. I was like, "Yeah, we're already fully booked." And then she was like, "Oh, well, if anybody cancels, is there any way that, if anybody cancels, just send them my way?" I was like, "Yeah, might happen tomorrow." And she's like, "Oh no, I have something that I have to do really early in the morning at 8 a.m. and it'll be too early for anybody to come. By the time they'll finish, I have to be out already. But it's okay. It's okay. I do appreciate it. Right." So I said, "All right, cool." So I was going to call around, see if we could fit her in. But then I was like, you know what? I think I got to break my own rule. And I broke it. I went out to her home and she was surprised. She's like, "Oh, you showed? Hey, wow." I was like, "Yeah, we take great care of you." You know what I mean? And the reason why is that I have a rapport with this particular customer. Not only has she been with us, one of the longest customers we've had under the membership, but she's such a great person, So, but then also, not on the personal note, this is more on a business note. I'm selling convenience. If someone wants something today, if someone wants something in the next few hours, I want to be able to provide that, taking care of a customer, especially ones that are near and dear to us and very loyal to us, is important to me. So the sacrifice of saying, all right, I got to break my own rule. I told myself I'm not going to do any cars, anything like that. I'm gonna work on big picture things. I ended up going there anyways, and it felt good making her happy and being able to do this for her, but I just want you to know that, rules, like if you're trying to stand out, rules are meant to be broken. Even another example of when I say we're trying to provide convenience. Okay, FedEx at their main hub, they send a plane there every day and to pick up any leftover packages. But listen to this. Every time they go and they send that plane there, it comes back empty. Why? Why do they even send the plane there every single day? If it's going to come back empty because there are no leftover packages, is because FedEx wants to deliver trust. They're not delivering packages, they're delivering trust. And they want to make sure that the packages get there or get to this destination on time. So they always send that empty plane almost as insurance to making sure that they always provide a certain level of trust that the customer knows that they're going to get what they ordered, and that inspired me, to take that same type of initiative out for my customers. When it comes to the convenience, I want to deliver that. I want them to know that this is the most convenient service that you could receive, and I want to grow that. I want people to understand that. So, the fact that I can help, a great customer, made me happy, and I just want anybody who may be listening to know that rules are meant to be broken, and, sometimes your own. And I hope that, we're able to get to a level in this experience of us talking to one another and in this episode where, again, you could reach out for help, talk to me if you need anything. There might be something that resonated with you. I would love for you to tell me what resonated with you in this, but again, I'm just so appreciative of everyone who joins me. I told you a little bit about the Waterboys. I told you a little bit about the Michael's Barber Academy. And again, if you want a tour of my businesses, or if you want to see it, you can all see it on Instagram at the Waterboys Inc. You can all see it at Michael's Barber Academy on Instagram, Facebook, but I'm here to help. I'm here to talk. I talk business, but now that you kind of got a little groundwork on what my, business background is, we're going to start getting to the juicy stories, the behind the scenes, the things that are going to help you understand the real journey that I go through on a day-to-day basis, because it's hard. And, just like I was talking about today, the marketing, people don't like doing the work. It's so annoying, like people think that they have to be happy with everything in order for them to do it, and like filling out forms. I'm not happy. I hate filling out forms, but I'm going to have to fill out a form if I want to achieve the goals or the things that I want. So, also, getting the documentation for your business set up, finding a lawyer, to help you with that, finding a CPA to help you with your books, finding the correct apps and the different type of, software for you to be a little bit more efficient with your system. I mean, with whatever system you're trying to put behind your business, like, that takes real work. And I said, earlier this week, like, man, procrastination is so seductive, because, man, it gets to a point to where, okay, when I have something that I need to really work on in front of me, this is how procrastination works for me. Like, I'll pull it out in front of me. I'm like, okay, cool, ready to start. I'm like, I'm a little hungry. And I go make myself something to eat. And then I'm like, okay, cool. Now that I've eaten, now I can start my work. Right. And then I'll go back to, so I'm about to start and I'm like, I would like something to drink and a snack. And I procrastinate again. I'm like, yeah, let me read this one thing. Let me look at this one YouTube thing. That's all that stuff to avoid the real work. The real work you're going to have to do. So I've postponed things that just take a few hours for years. Let me break that down. Things that only took me a few hours to complete, I've procrastinated on and pushed away for years. Like, we have menus that are out there that don't even match our current pricing, just because I'm like, oh, I'll get to it. And then look, every time a customer experiences that menu versus what our online menu is or whatever, it just confuses them. And like, oh, I'm just a little bit confused when it comes to your pricing. I'm like, oh man, I need to fix that menu. And then I'll tell myself, okay, I'm gonna put down the agenda. I'm gonna fix that menu. I'll keep planning. Okay, I'm gonna fix that. Okay, I'm gonna get someone to design it. Then I never go about doing it. And that's why I'm telling y'all, let's do the real work. Let's do the things that are hard. Let's do the things that you don't enjoy doing. You know what I mean? Because it's really about perspective. You don't enjoy it because you don't really understand the purpose behind what you're doing. Once you have a purpose of why you're doing it, and the purpose of that is bigger than you. You're going to want to do these things. You're going to want to hire. I used to say this is even crazy. I used to say, hiring, I hated more than anything. I said, man, I'd rather not even be here than hire. I hate hiring. I hate it that much. And for me to even have those words come out of my mouth makes no sense, but I hated it that much. But then when I realized that in order for me to get to my goals and get to these next steps, that I'm going to need people to come help me. I need the right people to come into my business and help me versus just having anybody come in and, as a placeholder. And I started actually looking at it in a way that, okay, how can I find more of me, or how can I find more people who could excel in areas that I'm not the best in, and that's when I started taking hiring, a little bit more seriously and enjoy it now. I actually like the journey of bringing someone new on, going through the training, going through all that, because, building a team is not easy, and doing the work is not easy, but it's necessary. It's definitely necessary. So, if there's anything that I can help with, anything that, is on your mind, just share it. You could find me on all platforms, as SAYMICHAEL, SAYMICHAEL. And I appreciate you listening to today's episode, and love you. Knowing what you do is cool, but knowing why you do it is even cooler.